everyone. Welcome back to This Is How We Create. My name is Martine Severin, your host. We're in a different location today, but that's because we have asked all of you to send in questions that you're wrestling with. And today we're going to be answering those questions. So this is a Q&A of sorts. All right. So let's get to the first question, shall we? Now, this question is from, let's call her Kendra. Kendra is a photographer, and here's what she wrote. She said, Martine, I'm so tired of hearing we don't have a budget. Our budget is really tight right now. How do I respond without sounding like a jerk? I feel like if I push back, they'll find someone cheaper. Oh my gosh. This happens to me even now. It really happens. So, Kendra, what's really happening is that you're having the budget conversation in kind of like the wrong time. I want you to think about what most people do when they're chatting up a potential client. They are getting excited about the project, they're investing the time as well as the energy into the project. So when you bring up money, they then hit you with, we don't have a budget. That's kind of backwards. So budget qualifications often need to happen in the beginning. So if someone reaches out with an interesting project, and I'll give you two different examples because these are the examples that fit my reality right now. So when I was a wedding photographer, it was really important to me. And as I was starting out, I had a base budget that I had in mind in terms of the number that I needed to make to cover the cost of running business and to pay myself. And it was like a really small number. So when clients came in and they were couples, what I would do is I would say, okay, just so you know, my budget is this. Is that what you were thinking about? Or I would ask them, and I only ask them this question if I think that they have a very, very small budget. If I think they have a very, very small budget because they've already like communicated in some other ways, they've dropped hints. What I then will say is, this is what my budget is. That what you were thinking about? Or I'll flip it and do the reverse and ask them, what's your budget? Because if they tell me what their budget is, then I can know right then and there if I'm going to play ball, right? If I'm going to go along with them and actually take them on as a client or not. And here's a reason why the differentiator really matters, because as a wedding photographer, with each wedding, I wanted to show what I could do, and I wanted to show that I had been in these different venues, you know? So in Chicago, there's like these really fancy venues, and I wanted to get into those fancy venues. And so in some cases, I would like the budget would be, my fee would be a lot less than what it normally was because I wanted to have that in my portfolio because I wanted to get higher ticket clients. So most times I would start and say, this is what my fees start at. So I'd say like my fees at the time, I think my fees started at 1650, you know? And then from there, you would also have different price points. So if your fee starts at 1650, you want to have a middle fee where you actually want them to land, and then you want to have the higher fee. And there's this psychological thing that goes on where people will want the middle, they won't want the cheaper one, and they likely won't always want the most expensive one. So that's how I would have that conversation when I was starting out. When what I do now, and it depends on the client. So I had a client that came and I knew that they were a low budget client, and I knew that the shoot that they wanted me to do wasn't going to win me any favors. It had nothing that would really expand my portfolio. Like there was nothing to write home about. And in that case, I will say this is what my day rate is. And that day rate is what I call it, my non-resentment rate. And I think we've done a podcast episode on that. So your non-resentment rate is going to be the rate that you have that's not going to get you resentful. And so then for other clients too, I will have my non-resentment rate is higher now just because like if I'm gonna miss a day with my family, a day of work, a day of working on the podcast, like I have a number, and that number is pretty big because I could be making money doing other things. So the day rate is a little high. So it really changes, Kendra. So if you're just starting out, if you're okay saying what your day rate is, just let them know what your fee is. Remember, don't be scared about the client, that the client will go find someone else. It's okay if they do, because not every client is going to be your client. And honestly, if they say no, they don't want you, it means that there's another client that's going to book you. That's how it works. I don't know why, but that's how it works. This episode is brought to you by iCode. Every child starts as a creator. They imagine stories, build worlds, and ask big questions. But as they grow up, creativity can take a backseat to routine and screens. That's where iCode comes in. Through after-school STEM activities, iCode's programs give kids a space to create again. Visit icodeschool.com to book a free trial. All right. So the next question is, oh, we don't have a budget. Oh gosh, Kendra, that's the second part of your question. We don't have a budget. Well, what they're actually saying is one of three things. The first thing that they're saying is we have no money and we're hoping that you'll do this for free or dirt cheap. The second thing that they're saying is we have no money and we hope that you'll do this as little as possible. Like we want to see what we can get away with. Or three, they're so disorganized that they actually haven't thought this through. And then there's four. Four is when they actually, and this happens a lot in the professional commercial photography realm. They are shopping, they're talking with other photographers. They triple bid, meaning that if they're coming to you, you can be sure that they've gone to two other photographers. And so they're looking to see what the photographer can do with the client, with the budget that the client has. And everyone wants to pay as little as possible, honestly. But if you're really, really good at your job, they're gonna want you and you're gonna want you and they're gonna want you. You're gonna pay whatever rate you have. That's just how it works. All right. So the next one is from Marcus. Marcus is a graphic designer. He's working in-house, but he's taking freelance project on the side. That's great, Marcus. So Marcus says, clients keep giving me insane deadlines. We need this by Friday, and it's Wednesday afternoon. Oh boy, yeah, that sounds familiar. Or they'll say, this is urgent for something that's clearly not urgent. How do I deal with this without losing the work? Oh, Marcus, welcome to the club. This isn't gonna go away. This part never stops, Marcus, because clients, they actually have zero concept of what actually goes into creative work. Most of the time, sometimes they do, especially the people who are really they're really seasoned. They know. They think you're just gonna open Photoshop and press make it beautiful button. That's not how it works. So you have to educate them and not in a condescending way, but actually in a way that works. So something that you might say is, okay, I see that I see that you have this tight deadline. I just wanted to let you know that I think you hired me for my portfolio and the work that I do. Just so you know, the work that I do, it takes this amount of time. And so you tell them that time, Marcus. It takes this amount of time. So if you want to have me create it in 2 days, I can do that, but I just want to manage expectations. And then you just leave it there because likely they're going to come back to you, Marcus, because it's likely they hired you for the good stuff and they don't want the bad stuff, right? So we're gonna go next. This one's from Aoife. Okay, so Aoife says, I quoted a client for a series of illustration. We agreed on the scope, the price, everything. Then halfway through the project, they're like, "Oh, can you send these additional prices or these additional pieces? And can we get them in three different file formats? And actually, can you animate one of them?" And they're acting like this is no big deal. Oh my gosh, Aoife, like it's included in the original price. I don't know how to tell them without seeming difficult. Oh boy. Okay, well, Aoife, take a deep breath. This is what we call scope creep. Scope creep is really awful. Because this is when the everything changes every single time. It's the moment where clients will ask you for things outside the original scope, as you just mentioned. So what's happening is they're not necessarily trying to exploit you. Well, most of the time they're not trying to do that. They generally don't realize that they're asking for extra work because in their world, can you just means this is a tiny little thing. And they don't understand that just adding animation is like lots of extra work. We're seeing this more and more with the rise of AI because I think people think that it's just, oh, can't you just do this? But artistry, it takes time. So, what I'm going to challenge you with this, though, Aoife, and I hate to say it, but you agreed on the scope at the beginning. But did you really? In for things to go this badly in the PDF, and I'm assuming you sent a PDF of the scope and they agreed with on it and they signed documents that you were going to deliver this work. In that document, I'm hoping that you added what would happen if they wanted additional things. I just work with Violeta Encarnacion, who was on the podcast, and I guess at the time of this recording, we will have already announced this. She created these really beautiful illustrations, and she's the most badass proposal, right? Like the proposal was beautiful because it was like, if you want this, this is what it's gonna cost. And this is what we're agreeing on based on what you've paid, Martine. But if you want this, it's going to be this additional thing. If you want that, it's going to be this additional thing. And just so you know, the work comes with 3 changes. Outside these 3 changes, this is what it's going to cost. So, one of the things you can do, Aoife, is respond to them and say, I'm happy to make these changes for you. I just want to make sure that they're not going to affect the timeline that we set for the deliverables. And I also just want to make sure you know that I am really happy to do these additional things that you suggested. And here is the pricing for each of these additional things. And that's it. And you say, best regards, or see you later. Looking forward to talking with you. And then that's it. You don't need to say more because then they're going to come back and say, da, 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 da. And then if they say, but, blah, 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 and say, based on what we originally agreed on, this is what I can do within this context. And if you want additional things, I'm happy to bundle this and that. And you could save, I don't know, $100. So just make sure that you have learned this lesson and you're going to update your proposal. Update that proposal, girl. Because each time someone comes and tries to do this, now you know. And this is why, like, my agreements, each time a client comes and does something foolish, I add more to it. So it's just a list. It's so long. So, lessons learned, I guess. I think that's it. Thank you so much for sending in your questions. They've been really great. I enjoyed this. Until next time, everybody, stay creative.
Hi there. If you're loving the show, would you mind taking a quick second to leave us a 5-star review on your favorite go-to podcast app? While you're at it, subscribe to our Substack newsletter, Creative Matters. You can find the link to subscribe in the show notes. All right, that's all that I have for you today. Bye.